day. I'm here. I just got back from, well, I didn't just get back from the lottery. I was at the lottery today as a credential media for Hoops Hype. Was able to speak with Rick Welts of the Dallas Mavericks, Jared McCain of the Sixers, and Brian. I didn't get to ask Brian a question, but I was there. Either way, you can check those interviews out at Hoops Hype's YouTube channel. I'll have some work come out at Hoops Hype in the coming days and hours regarding the draft, from winners and losers, another mock draft, and all that good stuff. So go check that out. But today, of course, we're going to go ahead and do my mock draft of post NBA lottery that I know all you guys would love to see. And we know Flag getting drafted by Dallas is what is going to be put there. We know that he's probably going to start off being a 3, which I know he's a combo forward, but I've told you guys I think he's a 4, and that will moonlight at the 3 or the small ball 5. He is the real deal. I wouldn't say a generational player, but a guy who is a lock to be an all-star, who's going to impact the game with his motor, relentless energy, elite defensive abilities to guard multiple positions. He has a good shot handle, and with the team that he's going to be on, they're going to allow his shot creation ability to come naturally developed instead of forcing it early on. Now, if the Spurs keep this pick, because there's a good chance they'll trade this pick and Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, and Devin Vassell for Giannis Antetokounmpo, if that does happen, because this basically puts together the best package there is for a Giannis trade. Now, with that being said, I do believe that if they were to take the pick, it's going to be Dylan Harper, because you just ride with the best player available, even though there's Castle and Fox. Castle or Harper could be figured out as a 2, and then you have your future backcourt behind Fox and then to replace Fox. Next up here, I could see VJ being a guy, as they do need more guards, but the idea would be they didn't have a traditional power forward. Ace Bailey's the bouncier Michael Porter Jr. By the way, Dylan Harper is the guy that I believe is the left-handed Cade Cunningham. He has that Jalen Brunson, Luka Doncic, Cade Cunningham style of slow, fast pace with elite vision and strength. Yeah, his explosiveness and athleticism might not pop off the page, but the shiftiness, the craftiness, and the IQ is what carries him over. And Ace Bailey's a guy who's one of the most gifted scorers in the class. He's got a smooth shot, long frame, and he's confident as all hell. So with him, it's just that you hope it all comes together. Here in Charlotte, I think VJ Edgecombe works out well for them, because what this allows them to do, it gives them a shooting guard. And I think VJ is a mix of Cassandra Wallace and Victor Oladipo. And with Trey Mann, I always said Terrence Mann, Trey Mann being a guy that what we saw him do in the limited minutes proved to be so good, is a belief in my opinion for them to bring another defensive guard like that, who he just needs to work on his left hand. Over here, I know Keontae George is not the point guard of the future. They do need a shooting guard, and that's why I could see them going Trey Johnson or Kasparis Yakachunas. And man, that's where it becomes really difficult for me to see this, or even Jeremiah Fears. I could see Yago or Demon just being taken here because it's the Utah Jazz. He went to VIU, and there could be that connection. But I think this is where I'm going to go with and I could see Jeremiah Fears going here just because he's a bigger guard. One might say he's more of the natural point, but at the same time, I think Kasparis fits more of Will Hardy's style as a big skilled guard who can play the 1 or 2. He's got great vision, a floor general. He has shot creating ability, will space the floor. I think he's the best passer available. Here, I think Derek Queen, if we're going to go big, this team, Derek Queen and Alex Sarr actually works together. I could see Trey Johnson being the guy here, but this team, I mean, with Bub and everyone, I just see Derek Queen being the local guy. I think they would just kind of want to go with that. And if we're looking at just how the Thunder were built, I mean, they might go guards here. I just think when you look at Derek Queen, I know he's somewhat polarizing in the sense that a lot of people think of Alperen Şengün when they see him. I know some people are like me. We think defensive liability, potentially as a guy who at best is going to be a drop coverage big. And he's a 21-year-old rookie. But in this case, I think there's going to be a guard available later in the draft. And Derek Queen helps you out here. Now, I think Trey Johnson works out here, unless you think Kamal Mawach or Con Kniffel will come in, but Trey Johnson gives him a bucket score, especially with, we don't know what's going to be the future there. It does make sense for them to go and get themselves a guy like that. And Trey Johnson, who's a pure 3-level scorer, is going to come in and basically be a bigger version of Cam Thomas, if not be his replacer. Brooklyn right here, they take Jeremiah Fears, who's like a mix of Jamal Murray and Monte Ellis, even though he's not as athletic as Monte Ellis and doesn't have as much guard skill. Kamal Mawach going to Toronto allows them to move off of Jakob Poeltl if they want to, while Masai Ujiri just gets another African player that he loves so much. To me, Con Kniffel screams a Ime Udoka type guy, and I don't even know if he would make it to 10. I think 10 would be so late for him, a guy who I've said repeatedly is a better shooting version with less defense of DeAndre Hunter, a 6'7", 215-pound player. Now we get over to Yagor Demon and this Portland Trailblazers. So if you guys haven't seen, we just talked about it. Last pick, Con Kniffel being a guy that Ime Udoka and the Houston Rockets would like. Now, with the Portland Trailblazers on the clock, I think this is one that becomes interesting. And just to give you guys a refreshing of what the top 10 looks like: Cooper Flag to the Mavericks, Dylan Harper to the Spurs, Ace Bailey to the Sixers, Vijay Edgecombe to the Hornets, Kasparis Yakachunas to the Jazz, Derek Queen to the Wizards, Trey Johnson to the Pelicans, Jeremiah Fears to the Nets, Raptors get Kamal Mawach, and Con Kniffel to the Rockets. Portland, they do need a power forward, and I think this could be a team that takes Colin Murray-Boyles. A lot of people are high on him. I think that there are some questions with him. He's a guy who is all about toughness. He can crash the glass, he'll battle defensively, and he'll finish strong around the rim. I think the three-point shooting is something that can be fixed. He could be the Ryan Dunn of this draft class, an impact defensive role player. However, I do think he might be a pure front court player, and that might change things in what your view is of him. Asanuel is someone that I like as a switch big who could be the replacement for the Chicago Bulls here. As Chicago Bulls with the 12th pick would be a team that I think should take a guy like Newell as a switch big that, if it works out, he could be a 4 that stretches the floor, but I think he's more of a 5 that'll block shots, run the floor, and be kind of a Nick Claxton-esque big. Another one from Georgia. The Atlanta Hawks, Sacramento's 2025 first round pick to Atlanta in this situation. I would go right here. Man, if there was a center on the board, if they wanted to take one, I could see Thomas Sorber going right here, just as they need a big to go with Onyeka Okongwu. Whatever they do here, the San Antonio Spurs with their second pick, I could see a Liam McNeely going, as he would be a shooter that could be along the lines of a Corey Kispert. He shot 36.5% on catch and shoot on, I believe, 122 attempts. While I know his numbers shooting wise weren't the best in general this year, Now we go over to the Thunder at 16, or my apology, 15. And man, I look at this and I think a guy like Noah Sengun would be a energy player to me that would give them a floor runner and someone that they could develop. But at the same time, I think Rasheer Fleming is the more likely option. He's probably closer to being a finished product. Is 6'9", 240, can guard every single position and can stretch the floor. Now, Orlando comes here and they need shooting, and they need shooting. I could see them taking a guy like Jace Richardson, former Orlando Magic player, son in JQ, and not JQ, and J Rich and Jason Richardson, not Jason Quinn or Quinn Richardson, but Jason Richardson, son, Jace Richardson would be perfect for Orlando, kind of an Eric Gordon type guard. Minnesota here, I think Nick Clifford, who is an Aaron Wiggins-esque player, would fit what they need in their depth. With the Wizards coming back here, we had them take Derek Queen. And I said before, I think there would be a guard for them to take here. Nolan Traore could be one guy. Yagor Demon makes the most sense to me. He's the highest level player. Their team that needs a guard, and he falls to them. With Jeremiah Fears go here. I think Carter Bryant could be a diamond in the rough. Yes, his numbers don't stand out, but I think he's someone who could end up being a combo forward. At the very least, I think his potential or to surprise people is kind of like how Trey Murphy did. But I think he's sort of like that Rui Hachimura combo forward who's going to space the floor and be able to bang a little bit and have a solid frame with a 7-foot wingspan. Miami over here, I think Ben Serif, if he's right here, he's kind of a Goran Dragic, Vasilija Micic type combo guard at 6'6". And hey, he can actually get to the rim decently. We had Yakachunians go to Utah right here earlier. I think Noah Sengun is one of the still high potential guys being available, would fit what they would want to do. We had Thomas Sorber go to the Hawks here, and if they have the 22nd pick, I think Hugo Gonzalez fits what Quinn Snyder would want. I know he's a little bit on the younger side. Now, we have the Indiana Pacers on the clock, and they're going to go big right here. They have to go big. To me, I could see an Alex Condon, who's more of a Mason Plumlee type big, but I think the guy that makes the most sense here is Jean Berger, the Frenchman playing for CD Vita in the Slovenian league. OKC, we had him take Rasheer Fleming, and I could see him going another big here, or a front court player, and that's Danny Wolf, to help complement Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. Orlando, we had them go Jace Richardson earlier. With players that are going to be available at this range, I think the biggest thing is finding a guy who's going to shoot. I like Noah Penda going right here. He's a combo forward who's going to allow them to have another guy who's going to be a space the floor and have some size. We're back to the Brooklyn Nets at 26. Brooklyn, it makes the most sense for them. We had them go Jeremiah Fears, Carter Bryant. They'd probably go big if they were drafting this much, or best player available. And to me, if you look at the bigs, I mean, Alex isn't going to write home anything. And I just think at that point, maybe you just take Will Riley, who could be a combo guard, who's one of the better cutters in this year's draft. Fun. And then right here, back-to-back picks, which probably wouldn't be likely. But if they were, do they go out and take a flyer or somebody, which I think could be the right move. However, that flyer, man. And Markovic could be someone they take right here. I think he's the guy who could sneak into the late first. He could also be a guy that ends up going in the second in just his draft staff. So I think Markovic is someone that I love as a guy who pass, dribble, shoot. I think he could develop into a sort of Pascal Siakam type, a bigger Pascal Siakam. And with Jordy Fernandez, he's also 230 now, not 195. So that's someone who saw him at Eurocamp last year and also saw him at Nike Hoop Summit. I really like him. I like Janai Broom as someone who could be a big for the Boston Celtics, but honestly, Ryan Kalkbrenner is the one that I see being the true fit, or guy who can actually hit some threes, be a true day one, four-time day one backup big, while also being a four-time, what is it? Are they in the Big East or whatever conference he was Creighton was in? Defensive Player of the Year. Right here, Walt Clayton going to the Phoenix Suns makes sense. They need a guard. He's got this Fred VanVleet. I was talking to Rich Paul about that today, and I told Rich that he reminded me of Fred VanVleet, and they say he's total Fred VanVleet, so it was good to get that. Jai Broom makes the most sense. He's a defensive big who can come in and protect the rim for the Los Angeles Clippers right there, so that was a good fit. Clippers take Jai Broom. Now, we're going to go quicker here. With 31st pick, the Timberwolves take, I like Nolan Traore, gives him another guard. He falls right there. Boston Celtics at 32. If they took Mr. Ryan Kalkbrenner, man, I think a power forward would be cool, but I like Alex Condon being a guy, but I think they do like a point guard, especially what they're going to think. If LeBaron Philon or Tyrese, oh man, Tyrese kind of fits what they would want to do in terms of having especially if they're going to keep Payton Pritchard and Derek White. I think Tyrese gives them a guy with size and that they don't have to worry about developing. We go over here. Who's going to be someone that stays in the draft or helps out because at this point, do you guys think Yaxel Lindenberg stays? I think Yaxel goes, but tell me, because right now I'm under the operation that Yaxel is not going to be in the draft. So ignore Yaxel because I think he just goes to Michigan and makes more money. I think he's too much of a fringe player to not go back into the college game and take a pure guaranteed paycheck. So Due Fierro is going to go there, especially if they end up trading Josh Okogie for Isaac Okoro. Now, if the Hornets have back-to-back picks, I like Cam Jones going there to give him another guard as he gives them a depth piece. But honestly, I think if they go Fierro and Edgecombe, they should go big, and Condon gives them a Mason Plumlee type big. We had Ace Bailey go there, so I think Cam Jones would be the guy that I'd have go to the Sixers at 35. Then at 36, I would have Brooklyn if they really did keep all those picks. Oh, Miles Bird could be someone that just gives them a depth piece at the wing position as they're just devoid of talent. Todd Pettiford, if he stays in the draft, he's just someone that I think we could pull out. Same thing with LeBaron Violin and Boogie Flan, but all three of them would be options. So we're going to go with Violin just because I really like him, and I think he's a good fit there. Now, a big would be who I think the Spurs would take at 38, and Maxime Renault would just make so much sense. A Frenchman to come join Wimby, and if they do make any trades, he would help them. Come on, we'll watch when here. So I'm going to have Boogie Flan go at 31, and I know if I don't have Yaxel Lindbergh going earlier, Boogie Flan and Todd Pettiford probably wouldn't be in the draft, but at the same time, I think the interesting part would be to say they might stay because in any other draft, they might fall even further because there's only 110 guys in this draft, and there's 6'1", 6'2" combo point guards that there's an abundance of those guys in the world, so it's hard to just convince yourself to take that. I was told Cedric Howard's going back. He's going to take $3 million from Duke. And I was told that by somebody. So over here, we'll go Payne Sandford. Oh, no. We'll go Dink Pate as he could be kind of like actually a Trey Murphy-esque guard. Now, if I'm the Warriors right here at 41st pick, dude, Coleman Hawkins fits them so perfect. So we're going to go there, and they would be the ones just to take a pick of a player that they really like. A lot of these guys aren't even in the draft anymore, so Payne Sandford makes sense to me as a sharpshooting guy that would help Sacramento. We had Noah Sengun and Kasperis Yarachunas go to the Jazz in those rounds. With the remaining picks, I think it does get a little bit more difficult to put people. I mean, Hassan Yang's fun to watch, but do you think they'd go there? Jonas Adu did really good at Portsmouth. Is Magoo Guath I don't think he's still in the drafts. Or so Clifford Omarui is someone that I could see the Jazz go, but I think they would go the Chinese kid just because they would just take a swing at someone. Weary had Richard Fleming and Danny Wolf go to the Thunder earlier, so at 44, I would have the Thunder probably take some shooting, somebody who's going to be able to help, or Darren Williams, who could end up being their Kenrick Williams replacement, which I think is more realistic. We had a Newell go to the Bulls earlier, so at 45, I think they want some shooting or a player that's going to help them in, down the road. And I think Alex Tui, the Australian who could be a combo forward, maybe like a George Niang type guy, would work out well for them. Orlando, they gone Noah and Jace. I think they would go big at this point. Which big? That's a good question, as it's funny to think Ian Shefflin just went from being a draft prospect to going to play football. So funny. Michael Ruzic just feels like a guy that they would go after. Even though he's low on there, he's kind of the defensive Dario Saric, can do a little bit of everything. If for some reason the Bucks do trade Giannis, and in this case they're not going to, or you know what, regardless, we're gonna have Salas, kind of like a Gary Trent guy. He can space the floor, score, do a little playmaking, would help them. Man, if I was the Grizzlies here at 48, it does become hard to imagine, but I think they go big. If Rocco stays, Rocco kind of fits what they would want. I think he spends another year in Australia, but we'll have him go right there. Cleveland, would they go big? I think they could be a team that go Ethan Alonso, but I think they'd go point guard or a shooting guard. I like Sion James or Chaz Lanier. They get some shooting. This guy's a bomber. We look over to the Knicks at 50. Augustus could be someone that they would be interested in, or Caleb Love, but I do think they want somebody to help them out right now. A front court player would be the best one to help them out right now. So, dude, I like this Lachlan Ulbrich kid, and he went off at the combine, so I could see him being someone who, he's playing drop. He could play so many positions that a team like the Knicks would like him. At 51, we'll go with Sion James, who's a gadget guy. Suns are back on the clock at 52. And here, obviously, we're getting into the weeds. So do you think they go at Caleb Love? They already went Walter Kane, so that's where I think it becomes harder to think about, okay, what these teams would do, especially if you're trying to win. And Jameer Watkins would be somebody, but I think Micah Peavy, who's a great defensive player, who's grown as a shooter, would help them out. Another guy in the Utah Jazz, we're trying to find them probably a forward at this point who could play Mbako, and Mbako, I think, would be perfect. He fits them, gives them some size. We had them go big. I think guard would help them out here. Which guard? Which guy could actually give them some depth and raise up the ceiling, or actually be in the draft when push comes to shove? And that's not as easy as it used to be. Malik Lewis is fun, but I don't think he has a skill that stands out to me. Point guards, I feel like the full board isn't here. No offense to my boys at No Ceiling, but man, if this ends up, this class is just so small. Do we go too big, Joan Berger and Ethan Alonso? We'll do that, though. I think they would double down. Man, if Hassan Yang wasn't drafted already, this is where I would have him going. But Clifford Omarui is probably the best big available. And if I were the Lakers, I need a big man. So I'm going to go with Clifford Omarui, as he would just give us depth right there. Knicks forfeit this pick, so we're just going to have Axel Lindeberg at that pick. And the back end of this draft is going to be probably crazy as hell, because we have no idea which players are going to go. I think Augustus would be somebody that the Grizzlies would like. Shooting wise, Jace, Man, Caleb Love seems like someone that the Magic would just take with a second. If Jameer Watkins stays in the draft, I think he's somebody that could end up going to Cleveland. He fits what they need. And with the Rockets' last pick, Kobe Rea, he's a three-point shooter that I like. So this is the mock. Let me hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you guys agree, if not, let me know why. But that's basically going to be it for me, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy. Hit that like and subscribe button. It does mean the world to me. And if there's anything else that you guys would like to hear, let me know. Ciao.